2019, and again, 7 p.m. And we would like to begin with the pledge. Dan, could you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Liz, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Price?
Here.
Hudson?
Here.
Eshman?
Here.
George?
Here.
Hayden?
Here.
Robinson, is he with notice since
He told me he couldn't make it. Yes.
He has to tell either the office or the president.
Yeah.
So if he can, we can email and ask him to email back, that'd be great.
in Squarnka? Sure.
And item number 4 will be our approval of the agenda.
I would like to propose on this, we make a slight adjustment to the agenda.
I don't
Not-
think you can.
Can I change the order of something without adding?
Sure you can.
Yeah.
That's why I
Sure you
said
can.
that. Yeah, I didn't know whether amend, I think of adding something, but the adjustment would simply be the order of the items. And I think relative importance-wise, I would take number 1 in the residential trash hauling and just drop it down to the bottom. And Village Council Personnel Subcommittee would be 1, Village Manager position status 2, and the trash hauling 3. But everything else is okay.
And I would just like to amend it to add 7 items from trustees.
You can't do that
Why?
because you've already called a special meeting with your agenda,
Specific
so you can't add.
Okay.
It's not like a regular council meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I'll check into that. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's,
All right.
just
Do
because
we
we don't
have,
have a chance to address public comments, the items from trustees, so, okay.
do we have an approval of the amended agenda?
I'll make
I,
it. Well,
Do
Pat,
we have support for that?
I'll
Do we have
support.
a motion? I'm looking for a motion and support.
Okay, motion to amend the agenda as listed with Village Manager or residential trash hauling dropping to 3 as amended.
Support? Anybody? All right. Motion on the table by Councilman George, supported by Councilman Bunsu. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And just for the record, Robert's Rules nor the village law, you do not order them in importance. It just is ordered in whatever general, as it's added to it, you order it. And you don't rearrange things based on importance. That's not part of either Robert's Rules or our village thing. So it doesn't make a difference which order it is, but if you would like to change the order that you're presenting something, that's your choice.
Okay.
All right. Item number 5 will be our public comments. Hearing none. Item number 6, new business. And first up, we have the Village Council Personnel Subcommittee vacancy.
I would like to, have we gotten any further on that, Tanya? As far as adding somebody, replacing Mark Robinson?
No, there is no need to replace Mark Robinson, and at this point we won't. Mark has not decided which committee he'd like to be on, which therefore then you have to talk to that person and decide where they'd like to switch and move everybody around, and we haven't done that, and even addressed that yet.
Well, being that we did call the special meeting and not you, Tanya, sorry, we do have information about the personnel committee, and you're right. We as a whole don't have to do it. You may personally decide you don't want to do it, but as a whole, we make that decision.
I get that is not correct.
I'm confident of that because we're the ones calling the special meeting. We have the bullet to talk
You
about.
can talk about it, sure, but you
And we-
can't take any action outside of Tanya's decision. What to
That's
do.
not true. That's not true.
And what's your legal basis for that? Because I checked through all these things. Our village handbook, it very clearly states the village president, by our own approved village council rules of procedure on page 4 states, not page 4, I got the notes here. On our page 13 of our village council handbook rules, it states that village council representatives on the various committees, boards, and councils will be appointed by the village president and approved by the council.
It's time out. So the first time that the board were selected, you did not select for approval from council. You made the decision on your own to do that.
And
So
then
you
this
appointed-
was
you appointed
changed after
without-
that point, yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So at this point, all right, it
That was
doesn't mean.
before we
so-
adopted this specifically, actually.
But you want to know what? Up until this point, up until Tanya, bless her heart, got into presidency, we've always had discussion amongst the council as a whole, is who's going to be on the
That
committee.
is
It was
not
never
true.
dictated.
That is not
That's
true.
false.
That is true.
It
That's
is not
false.
true. I've talked to both past presidents and they made the decision. If it's a conflict of scheduling, they
That's
were
not a
able
true
to kind of
statement.
figure it out.
You know,
That's
whether
either
Wayne
here
or
nor
anybody
there
else
what it
stated,
was in the
that's wrong.
past.
It's not right.
So this states they will be appointed by the president, approved by the council. If you look onto personnel committee, it is no more than 3 council
I
members.
know what it says.
So, in the discussion with our lawyer, the rules and procedures are similar to what is found in villages and approved by the general village law. The president nominates committee members, the council approves or denies each nomination. The council cannot nominate someone over the president's objection. If the president consistently nominates persons that the council does not approve, then a political stalemate results and the vacancy remains unfilled. Where the conflict exists, the 2 sides must find a political solution or else the vacancy remains. At this point, the vacancy will remain until we can fulfill all of the positions and have them all work. Personnel is no more important than the other positions. They all need to be filled, we all need to do our part, and we all need to be involved. So at this point, we are fine where we're at until we can get this all figured out with everything.
Well, I guess my 2 cents would be, it's like that there's been plenty of time to figure this out since our last meeting. So.
And
we're-
Mark's
we're
not here to
really-
defend himself, but after contacting him 3 times, I've still not received any wishes as to which committee he would like to be on.
He said historic.
So when
he
he's
told me
here-
historic. He told me he reached
I
out
have
to
not
you.
heard, he has not reached out to me, it has been 3
He
times.
told me you reached out to him, he's told me he was.
So
gonna,
that is the
select
first
historic.
factor. The second factor is, you do not need more than the amount of people. You could have 1, you could have 2, it's no more than 3. Colleen is already on 2 committees. She's fine. It's not a necessity. It is a want, not a need. And at this point, it's perfectly fine. Everybody is fulfilled where they need to be and working on what they need to be and focusing on what they need to
At
be.
this point, you're dictating what this council wishes to do. So we had a minimum of 3 people to discuss this tonight, all right? The discussion would be, we have an open seat based off of past practices, albeit past presidents have had 3 people always on it, okay? You're the one making the decision to make it 2 now instead of 3. So in the past, we've had 3 people on the personnel committee in the last 12 years I've been on this board, 11 years, all right?
And
So-
past practice
and you
was
know-
the council didn't approve. That was added in January or February. So that's either here nor there.
Council didn't
This
approve
is
the last
followed-
nomination.
They didn't.
They did
didn't
not have
because we
to
all
until
agreed.
this was
Because we all
made in
agreed.
February.
That's right.
Yeah.
So at this point, we follow the rules and procedures that are set up by our laws, and that is what we follow, and that's what
Those
we're
aren't
going to
laws.
continue to
May I
do.
get permission?
This
to
is not
speak?
law, this is not legal, this is not a legal document. Those
This
procedures are
and
set by
this
us.
are
We
legal
set that
documents.
procedure.
The rules and procedures that were set by us were based on the Michigan Municipal League's Handbook for General Law Villages, and it states essentially the same thing that states there. And I actually went all the way back to the Michigan compiled laws of the General Village Law Act, and the section that's referenced in here, and it states the exact same thing about the responsibilities of the president. Related to responsibilities of the president, Dan, I think this is a very important aspect of the president's responsibilities is, and this is directly from Michigan compiled laws, the General Law Village Act 64.1 says the president, one of the responsibilities is the president shall see that the laws relating to the village and the ordinances and regulations of the council are enforced. Tanya is, whether we had past practices or not that may or may not have been in compliance with the law, she is doing her proper responsibility as village president to ensure that we are now following the proper procedures according to the laws of the state and according to our own past ordinances. So I am getting really tired of seeing people on this council go after our president for merely trying to do her job properly and for properly researching and following the laws and ordinances as they relate to our operation as a village. She is in the right in what she is saying and stating, according to everything I can find according to Michigan law. And even the attorneys have agreed with their statements. Why do we keep trying to argue against what the attorney states and what the law states? I don't understand that. It wastes our taxpayers' dollars and calling special meetings to discuss things that should not even be discussed.
For over 60 days, everybody on this council has known that Mark had you off of that committee. We also have a responsibility from an attorney or from, as trustees to the village. If we have an opening, why can't we as humans go ahead and fill that slot?
If it was good for 3 people when you came on, why isn't it good for 3 people now? And guess what? You're making the rules? You can't make the rules.
I'm not
As a-
making rules,
as
I'm
council as a
following
whole.
state laws. One of the reasons that will be a major benefit is the money that it's saving. With all the money that's being wasted on special meetings and workshops that aren't necessary, on the money that we're refusing to pay our employees to fulfill the manager's job, this is a way to save money.
That's an
This is a
unjust
fiscal
reason for
responsibility.
not- No, it's not.
It is unjust in your opinion, it's a fiscal responsibility to our residents, and that's what I'm doing. It is not going to change.
I therefore make a motion to change the rules of procedure for personnel subcommittee to the council, to have the council as a whole decide who sits on each committee.
You cannot do that. That
You
is
can do
against
that.
the state
It's a
law
motion.
and the
All I need
general
is a
village
support.
law. You cannot make an unjust
Yeah, point of
motion. I
order,
just read
that
to you
is
what the lawyer
illegal.
said.
No, it's not illegal.
It is illegal. Go to the Michigan compiled laws and look and see what the responsibilities are explicitly defined for the president. It is not within the council's authority to appoint committee members, period, by state law. And if people on this council insist that they want to do motions that are illegal, I think those people should consider whether they even belong on council. That's all
I
I'm
don't
going to
think
state
it's
right
illegal.
now. It is illegal.
I
Go.
don't think it's illegal.
When was the last time you looked at the Michigan compiled laws to reference anything that you were saying?
Long before you.
And when was the
And you
last
wanna
time you
know
did
what?
that?
You cannot, you're not gonna take me to court for it.
I'm not planning on taking.
No, the
it.
We're
village
not gonna
wouldn't
take
waste
no
their money.
court for
It's
it.
not going
It's
to
not
change.
against the
My
law.
It is against the law.
I just read to you what the lawyer said. I know what the state of Michigan says. I know what the MLS says. I know what he just told us. It all is the same exact thing, which is what we agree on here. That cannot change what the state law is, and we cannot change that. It will not change.
Tanya, what I'm saying, put the law aside. If we have an opening, a vacancy, we have a qualified person ready to fill that vacancy because of experience, past experience, why don't we add that person?
Well, I just
To that
told you one of the reasons. Everybody is already on enough committees. It's a fiscal savings. It is less people scheduling to save the time. And I don't take personal agendas as to a demand of this is where I'm going to be. It is based on what is best for our residents and the best fit for all of us.
Well,
So that is how the decision was
the best
made.
fit for the residents would have a full committee, as has been in the past.
A full
That's
committee on
the
other
goal.
committees is one person. It's, your definition of a full committee is different than somebody else's or somebody else's.
How many open DDA positions do we have right now? And the council was refusing to fill candidates that came before them because they weren't comfortable with those candidates yet. They wanted more time. I don't understand why in some cases
Well,
this council
60
moves so
days.
slow on some things because they're not comfortable, they haven't had time to review it. And yet when our village president, who has the authority by law to decide who she wants to nominate to a committee, when she is taking her time to try to make the right choice for that we are
Or personal.
trying to.
Has-
makes
Thank
it
you for
personal.
interrupting me. I did not hear you recognize the speak, but we do that a lot here. Anyways, I don't want to say more because I think it's wasting our taxpayer dollars. Why can't we move on from this topic? Because we're not going to get a resolution on getting a new committee member tonight.
I would like to say something. So if it's fiscally responsible to leave one person out, why do we have 2 council people on the planning commission?
Because
Both
it
getting
has
paid
not
for it.
been filled yet.
Both getting, no, 2 people are attending the planning commission, both getting paid for it, right?
Because it has not been
So
filled
isn't
yet.
that fiscally responsible? Prior to both of you coming on, there was only 1 person on the planning commission. So why
There
now
was
is there 2
2.
people? So
Larry
you
has
got
been
2
on
people in planning,
Because-
2 people, now you're showing bias.
Those 2
And to
people
me,
were
bias in front of
already-
this residency, our residents, that's wrong.
Resign.
It's not biased, you can have up to 3 members of the council and planning commission. You just cannot have a quorum of the council and planning commission.
And you can have
I
up to 3
follow
on
the legalities
personnel.
of what is necessary. Yes,
Just like
up
you can
to
have 3.
3. We could have up to
It
3
says
on
up
planning,
to.
but we don't
Right,
at
just
this
like on
point.
planning.
And at some
Up to.
point, we probably
But
will be
we
back up
don't.
to 3, but until we get things sorted out with who's gonna be on what committees, and I understand, I'm willing to give Tanya time to make the right decision on that and do what she feels is
I
best.
think
to make
personally,
that
I think
nomination.
normally, it probably wouldn't be a huge deal to get it filled so quickly, but since we are in the process of hiring a village manager, I think it's even more important to fill that, whether it be me, Pat, whoever, is like to fill that vacancy, because we are in the midst of a village
Change.
manager. And it's like to wait until after the fact, it's like, that seems kind of
Irresponsible.
ridiculous.
It doesn't necessarily have to be filled. That's the point. We don't have to wait. It may not be filled. Everybody else is already concentrated in other committees. It does not need 3. Other committees have 1. They work just fine. It's not a big deal.
I will also suggest that when it comes to the Personnel Committee, when we review, if we schedule interviews, those will be done in open meetings, and the rest of the council is, of course, welcome to attend those open meetings, am I correct?
Absolutely. It's law.
And can give feedback, input as public at those open meetings too, so I don't see that that should be a real problem, not having 3 people on the committee, as long as we can do the process of screening and bring viable candidates
Like I
based
said,
upon
some of
their
the questioning was about the
credentials.
screening. know,
So
bring
you
in the
would
proper
prefer that
candidates.
we sit in the gallery on our personal time while you two get paid for it, while you still get paid sitting there on the planning commission. So I think if there's any widespread abuse on the hours and the number of committees, maybe we should have Liz pull up all the paid meetings that everybody attended, and I'd like to understand who was paid the most right so far, and how many meetings have they attended?
Well,
Because
that's
it wasn't
not on
me.
our
Hasn't
special
been me.
meeting, so I guess
know it
that'd be
hasn't been
something
me.
you'll have to ask later.
It
Because it
hasn't-
is
it hasn't
not
been me.
addressed on our special meeting.
It hasn't
But you
been
can
me.
put
I know
that
that.
I
request
don't
in.
advise that
As a FOIA
because
request.
there were many meetings I attended.
So
in
Larry,
the village as a
unfortunately,
planning
that's not on
commissioner.
our list right here. What we're
And
talking about, though,
I
is the
volunteered
personnel.
my time to go to those meetings. I would volunteer my time to committee meetings and all that too, if I could, but I've been told that we have to get paid for those.
We have to.
So
That-
back
that-
to
legal-
personnel, which is what
legal
we're
thing
here to
has
talk
That's what I
about.
was told, is that that was the practice within our village. But that's not on the agenda, so we shouldn't be discussing that. I'm sorry for sidetracking.
That's okay, thank you.
Well, I'd like to state that I'm appealing, and I would like to make a matter of record that I do not agree with the approach that Trustee Tanya and Trustee Hayden are making to make their own decision as to how many people are on the personnel committee.
And I would like to say, I was just
to
gonna
make a
say, that
matter of
has nothing to
record.
do with anybody but me.
Dan, that has nothing to do with me.
You
Tanya
have-
has not asked me anything about that. I'm
You
merely
support-
stating, I will
that's
support
fine.
whatever her decision is, because it's her decision to
All right,
make.
I'm
That's all
making an
saying.
appeal, all right, on Tanya's decision not to fill that open seat, based off of specific trustees here today indicating that they wish to follow past practices of having a 3-person personnel committee.
Thank you.
Do I need that appeal supported?
If so, I will support it.
You can make an appeal, it doesn't change anything, you cannot make a motion. You cannot make an illegal motion.
I've got it typed as you're making an appeal for President Bryce to fill the vacancy based on past practices.
All right, and then do you also have record that I made a motion and it was supported?
I do not, because we kind of got sidetracked with the discussion. And I was gonna ask you for the exact reading of your motion and who supported.
I would support it.
Do you have your motion written down? Can I photocopy it for later?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
then we don't have to hold up.
So I appeal the fact that President Bryce chose not to act on that supported motion.
I believe
As
I
a
called a
matter of
point of
record.
order on that according to Robert's rules because it was an improper motion, illegal, and outside the authority of the council to make a motion like that.
Okay. Do you want the record to reflect all of this? Okay,
The minutes do not reflect a record of appeal.
okay.
But he specifically asked for it,
For
so
them, yeah.
he specifically asked, but yeah.
Okay.
So are we still talking about this, or is it over?
You can still talk about it, we're not done.
Well, I have talked to Mark Robinson on occasion, and I do know that I find it weird that after so long, and knowing, because I've heard him talk to different people, that he wanted to be off that committee. So why aren't we just filling that slot outside of the $49 or whatever we get to go on for meetings? Why aren't we having a full complement when we can? And it's at this point just a matter of dollars.
It's not. I just gave you 5 different reasons as to
You-
why
and-
we're not
and
at
you
this
did,
point.
And again,
So that's what my decision is based on.
And I still have I personally have a problem with your decision being, from a standpoint of being trustees, we all act for this village. We are going through a pretty important time trying to fill a manager's position. Also other things. It's always important what we do here. So it just makes sense to me that it should have been full. And I'd like to have that on the record, that it's my humble trustee opinion that should have been full. Or filled. Because we had more than enough time to reach out to each other. I don't know, has Mark talked to you at all about
Not
it?
at all.
Not one
I've
I know
contacted him
in
3
the last
times.
6 months.
Right. And like I said, then, that is one of the many.
It's one of 3 from what I heard. I heard that it's a cost-saving initiative. I heard that it was based off of the president doing the nominees and not taking any of our trustees' recommendations into consideration. And then I also heard that she doesn't know what committee Mark wants to be on.
So far that's 4. It's also
I
based
did
on
3.
past have not fulfilled all of them whenever they're open. It's also based on it does not have to be full. It is also based on other committees are not full as
Based on
well.
the past, we've
That's
always
fine.
had a 3-person personnel committee. For the 11 years I've been on council, we've always had a 3-person template. And when there was a vacancy, we did fill it.
Okay.
And if Wayne is saying differently, I'd like to have him come and tell us when. Because
I
we've
said
always had,
committees, first of all.
we've always had
It
a
doesn't matter
3-person
which
personnel committee.
Okay.
We've always had a 3-person personnel
Well, like I said,
committee.
my
Yeah,
discussion is
operated
based
on
on the
the
fact that
planning
they have not
commission.
all been full all the time, and it's not necessary.
But we operated on the planning commission short a person for an extended period of time because this council did not want to fill that position for a long time. So, I mean, if you're going to point to past precedent, there's one right there that was left open vacant for an extended
In
period
the middle of a
time
master
until
plan.
we decided, until the council could get together and come to an agreement on who to fill that with. And that really should have been a nomination from the village president at that time too, which we did eventually go that route.
I just wanted to, for the record, I do know rules and procedures do trump in whatever we decide in our own rules and procedures can supersede anything in the village law handbook.
That is incorrect. It is long as
It
it
cannot
complements it, it
supersede
does.
Michigan law.
Nor the village handbook, it has to complement it, not supersede it. That is a state law.
What's the state law?
The rules and procedures cannot be opposite or in
Oh.
defiance of anything in the general law. It has to match, complement, it has to flow with that, it can't be black and white. It has to be both are black or, some level of, it cannot be opposite. So you have to follow that, which follows the state law.
And the state law, according to the handbook, is referenced as MCL 62.13, which I did read and review also, which states essentially the same thing. President nominates, council approves or denies the nomination.
So if Mark goes back on the personnel committee and says he'd like to be back on, would you welcome him back?
I don't
I
know.
would, but it's not up to me.
Well, I mean, it's a
Yeah,
simple
no, there's a
question.
lot of reasons why no. I mean, nothing against Mark, it's not personal. But no, as I have mentioned, there are multiple reasons as to why that is not a necessity.
Well, in order to save money, maybe I should step down from the streets committee too then. You're so fiscally responsible tonight, maybe we should all step down from our committees and then we can put them all on and you don't have to worry about paying us.
Well, by law, there has to be a minimum on each committee, but you don't have to be. We can pick somebody else instead. That's your choice to make. I'm following the laws. This is nothing personal, and I don't know why it's become a personal attack on anybody.
Actually,
I think it's bias. I think it's bias. It was 3 people and
It
now
is
you
by
choose
law,
them.
it is not a bias.
I think
That's a
it's bias.
personal
I think you're
opinion.
showing bias. The fact that the 2 of you are on the personnel committee and the 2 of you are on the planning commission, I think it shows bias. And I don't think it's right to show that in front of our residents, that now we have 2 sitting council people serving both committees.
So is it
I
bias
think it
that you
showed bias.
appointed yourself pro tem and you're on the streets? No.
I didn't vote, I didn't.
That is not
I
bias.
did not, I did not.
So it's not a bias, it's just a personal decision that was made.
I
Is
was
you are pro
not-
tem and you are on streets.
I
It is what it
was
is.
not on pro tem. I was not.
You are pro
nominated by
tem
myself.
and streets, therefore, maybe it's a
Nominated by
bias.
somebody else. I did not
Council
vote.
not a
nominates
bias.
the pro tem.
So there is
Council
not a
nominates
bias with
pro
any
tem.
of that.
Council nominated you. Yeah.
Is there anything further on the personnel vacancy?
I think we need to look at the rules of procedure, because there's also, if we're gonna be following these rules of procedure, then let's follow them. Let's not pick and choose what we're going to and when we're going to, because under the Ortonville Community Historical Society.
Okay, if as long as it follows personnel subcommittee, that's great. If not, then we have to table that and have that discussion. We can only talk about
Does it talk about
personnel
personnel
subcommittee at
subcommittee?
this point.
Talks about appointments, but that's okay.
Personnel subcommittee appointments, that's what we're talking about.
Well, this is about.
No, she said
subcommittee.
historical. It has to be personnel
It's fine.
subcommittee
Well,
appointment at this
The
point.
appeal's been noted, and you have your rights under your appeal.
And you're more than welcome
and
to
the
bring it
points
up
of
at the
order.
next meeting and have it added to that. We have to stay on track of what it is. Is there
And I
anything?
suggest we do that for all our meetings, and I think that'd be a good
I-
idea.
Yeah, I think just from my own perspective on the timing, my concern on the personnel committee now is in lieu of its most important task, which is to screen candidates for village manager. I myself personally am just frustrated over what I perceive to be a lack of information coming my way. I'm in the dark on this, and I don't know if that's normal. But I know that Bill put in his resignation, or told us about his resignation sometime, I don't know if it was early May, certainly at least by middle of May. So we've known about this vacancy since then. We're coming up on 2 months, and I just sense we're no further along at this point on
talking about
this
village manager.
village manager, on a search for the village manager. And I'm assuming that this information, Larry, comes from the personnel committee. If I was on it, I'd be trying to give the council members updates, as well as we can. And I haven't received any information. That's what frustrates me. And it's a vital position to fill. I know this is my first rodeo in doing this.
That's our next agenda item, isn't it?
So
It
we've
is.
done this 3 times, 4 times now in 18 months.
Okay.
That is very consistent with how long it's been.
Wow.
We posted for a month. At the end of the month, we interviewed right away the week of, and you were all invited or at those interviews. And then we had a second round of interviews at the council meeting.
Right.
So everything was very transparent. There was no waiting or second guessing. Council's wishes was to repost. That is currently going on. That will be done on the 12th. And the interviews will take place the next week. And those will be scheduled. And again, it will be a public open meeting that everybody can attend. And then it will be brought to council if the wishes are to continue to have a council interview. So
'Cause one
there's
of my-
nothing
one-
missing in between.
One of my main concerns on it is that one of the candidates we did interview just seems to have dropped off the planet. And that interviewed well, and I just would like to know, and if you're saying, Tanya, nothing, that Debbie hasn't contacted us or hasn't contacted you or Liz, and that's what's going on, I'm okay with that, but I don't know.
Well, we are going to discuss it at the meeting to see what the next step of council is when she said I'm interested in throwing my hat back in the ring is what she said. I was trying to think, I was going to say reapply. Throwing my hat back in the ring.
Right.
So at this point then, when there's interviews, she will be welcome to interview and she'll sit in front of council and she'll have her interview as with everybody else. So that's
Okay.
where it's at. I mean, we can't do anything else at this point. We don't have our candidates until the 12th. And then we have to wait for mail to come, which would be like the 15th. So that 15th, 16th, 17th, somewhere in there, the interviews.
And I'm concerned about getting back to Dale too, I just think,
I agree
just
with
stretching
you.
it
Yeah,
out.
either yes or no, and
I
don't leave
just-
it in between.
It's very frustrating for me to watch the slowness of the process. And this
Well,
is,
it was the council's decision to hold off and to repost and wait until more candidates came in. So, I mean, that's not a decision that we made at Personnel Committee, that was a decision made by this
That's a
council.
group, right. Group
And
decision.
has anybody,
how's that process
How's it going?
going? How's the repost going?
Well, it was posted on Saturday, so.
I was
we've
glad
had
to see
one-
wasn't help wanted
One
anymore.
application, yeah,
Right.
received. So, yeah, like I said, we got till the 12th, so.
It was changed, did you notice that?
Yeah.
I did.
I did, I was
I
looking, I
didn't
missed
see
it.
I said that tongue in cheek.
I-
Maybe that's,
I
maybe that's why
for
I
it.
didn't find it.
All right, so we've moved on to number 2, which is a village manager position status update. So we kind of just had that discussion. Are there any more questions on that one? I know we kind of jumped without, besides Pat's. Did you have any others on that before we pick something else? All right.
How many,
So-
go ahead.
I was gonna say, when is the earliest? I already have my mind made up. I don't need to hear anymore. When can we
When can we
pull
vote?
the trigger?
Yeah.
Can we-
Because I'll
can we-
tell you,
Can we vote
Tanya-
tonight?
Well,
Without-
no, that's not on here at all.
What-
And we did have the opportunity on the day of, I'm not sure who you're talking about, but the interviews. And so you had
Right.
the opportunity, when you interviewed somebody, to say you're interested.
Well, we
Yeah,
could
or
pull the
not at
trigger
that
at our
point.
regular meeting.
Correct. That too, well, yeah, that was the
This month.
decision,
week,
well,
all right,
the regular, yeah,
that's in
so,
what, 2 weeks?
Well, can we, yeah,
yeah. So if you, yeah.
could we put that on the agenda?
But then
now?
why did we absolutely, well, it's going to stay on there, it's always on there, but I guess I'm confused as
It's
to
why
why we
we're
then
here.
posted and paid and all these, if we already had a decision, which nobody said they had a decision, so.
I think I think from my standpoint, Tiny, when I asked for this special meeting, or when the three of us asked for this special meeting, but from my standpoint, and I guess it wasn't worded correctly, I was kind of hoping that if we're gonna do either a second interview with Debbie, or since the ad has appeared in the paper, if we found any candidates that you'd wish to interview, that we could have done it tonight. This to me would be an
Well, we
update on the
can't-
process.
Right, we would have to state it, but
I think we need
At
to
our
wait
next
until we.
Well, I
meeting-
say on that,
Is that what we
I'll
shall
own that,
for?
Larry, that was my wording on this, that I could have been more specific and to say, including personnel interviews.
Yeah, and now
And I
I
didn't do
believe
that.
that we are, once all the posting time is finished, I believe we will probably try to get a personnel committee meeting between the end of that and our next council meeting. So hopefully, if there are any additional viable candidates, we can.
And they'll be brought
identify
forward
them
and then
And I'll tell you,
bring them up to council.
I would concur with Mark Bledsoe. At this point in time, based on what I've seen, I would be ready to vote. So and that would be with or without Debbie, who I thought was a viable candidate. But depending on what trickles in, if you, and I think that's the thing too, it's just that, when I listened to Dale talk, for example, when he was interviewing about his selection of people on committees, I got a kick out of it, and I think he had a point, that he tried to put people not of dissimilar opinions, but a lot of times of differing opposite opinions. So the
I don't
idea-
mean to pull you back, we're talking about the status, we can't discuss candidates at this point.
I thought it is a status.
It's
though.
the status and the discussion of
Discussion.
the status, not discussion of a candidate.
Village
This is a
manager
position
position
only, not
status.
candidates. We cannot at this point.
Could we, going back to what, can we, at this point in time, is it okay then that it would be proper to, by the time we hit the next scheduled village council meeting, that we could throw it up for a vote if we were ready?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
on
we
there.
set, so bottom line is that would be done before the end of July, couldn't be done before the end of July. Okay, that's fine, I'm okay with that.
Now, Tanya, if we identify any additional candidates that might be worthy of consideration,
Right,
we could potentially schedule an interview at that meeting and then make our final decision at
Correct.
that meeting
Yeah.
based upon the any additional interviews we could do then, plus the existing interviews we've done, right? Okay, so
And then
then we
bring them
might,
forth
so
at that
then we
meeting.
have a way to incorporate, if we do come up with any new candidates, we can incorporate that into that.
Which again, you would be open to coming to the interview, making a decision, and then when you come on the regular Monday, you'll be educated and ready for your decision. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, because I definitely agree that I think that we want to move sooner rather than later on the village manager position,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I'm just
Hopefully we can,
surprised.
right.
And without discussing specific candidates, I know it would just be, I feel, a more appropriate thing to get back to our candidates sooner rather than later.
Right.
As, you know, how the process is
Well,
going.
I'm sure that if we are intending to make a decision that night, or that's our intention to make a decision that night, we could probably at least communicate that that information to
Well, they'll be there.
candidates
so,
that have
right.
been,
Okay,
that we've been in contact with before.
okay.
Well, they may not be meeting, they may not be present at that time. But I lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me.
So did I hear that the personnel committee will be interviewing people prior to our next meeting and making recommendations to council as to who additionally that you're gonna recommend to
If there
council?
are, yes.
I would say that would depend on whether we get any additional candidates that appear qualified. We had some submissions where it was clearly they did not have the type, anything
Yes,
close to
right.
the experience that we would want.
Okay.
If we get some additional candidates that look like they might have the right experience, yeah, we'll try to, I'm sure we will try to get an interview to see.
Prior to Monday's meet, or the
Yeah,
Monday meeting?
and that would be an open meeting, and then, try to make that so, you folks could hear what they said the interview.
Don't schedule a meeting based on our availability because that's just, that's.
No,
that's-
but I mean, we definitely
It'd
would
be nice
make
to-
it open so that if anybody
Yeah.
can attend to, that would be helpful, I think.
Yeah, that's not.
I just feel we have such a strong candidate right now, I don't wanna.
All right, anything else on the manager position, or?
I guess what
Oh,
came
did
to
you
me
say
that,
something?
that moving this along, and then when we had our last meeting, it wasn't even on the agenda, so it's like, the communication needs to be better than what it's been, so that we know what's going on. Otherwise, it's like, okay, so right now, do we have any applications?
We received one. It went out on Saturday, today is Monday, the first one came
But
in.
it went out on MML before Saturday though, right?
Yes.
So it was
It's
just in the
been-
paper Saturday, but it's been posted
So
before
we've received
Saturday.
one.
It's been in the newspaper twice now,
Okay,
Okay.
so
Is
it's
it?
not
Not
just
the
since
first time, I'm sorry, I
Saturday.
thought it was once, okay.
twice.
Well, we received one.
Okay.
And the cutoff date is Friday the 12th?
Mhm.
Okay. And that's postmarked Friday the 12th, is that what we're
It's gotta be
saying?
postmarked, yeah.
By 5 PM,
Okay, so postmarked, okay,
5 PM,
okay,
or emailed 5 PM.
all right. So they could, okay, so
fax.
you could get one trickle in Saturday or Monday or something like that.
Unfortunately, well,
Monday
if
can't.
mail, yes,
If it's
it
been-
can
if
be.
it's been
it's
postmarked.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's why, yeah, so you would
So we
meet
get something
Tuesday
from out
and
of
then
state
interview
where somebody
Wednesday,
really
Thursday.
wants
yeah.
that job. It takes 2 days.
It'd have to be 4:59 and 59 seconds on that
And
email.
it can be brought in by
Oh,
hand,
that's fine.
Monday or Friday by 5.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
find a way to get it here.
okay.
All right. Looks like Pat, you're up. Residential trash hauling, final recommendations.
Wait, okay, we can talk about this. I'll take one of these, Liz, you get one of these. I don't know if we get to this or not, but just pass them down. This is very similar to what I gave you back in May.
Like it-
No. It's coming. I started.
I would say, boy, you got a lot of paper here.
I started to my left. No.
Pat, did you have an extra?
I have an extra.
What's that?
Okay, yeah, I have an extra there. This is pretty much what we looked at back in the regular meeting in May. And I know Dan had brought up at that point that this is the bottom line, and again, where I guess I sense frustrations. We had talked before about, the original thing was to bid it out, and then with community saying that's fine, but they weren't gonna participate in the bidding process. It became very clear to me, I think to us, that, and with the community, that basically, we wanna move to one day during the week. Monday's the day, and certainly why, because the particular hauler right now that has most of the business does it on Monday. That would be the least disruptive to the majority of citizens, or the most acceptable to the majority of citizens. There's that, so the Monday. And then we said all along, the whole purpose of this, we had too many haulers, too many days, there really no regulations or anything, so why don't we go to one day and limit the number of haulers? And I'm telling you, back on that survey that we did, we had 60% of the people saying that they were in favor of one hauler. And we had 2/3 of the returnees saying they would be in favor of one hauler if that hauler was community. So they spoke very loud and clear to me what they wanted. And then, Tanya, if you remember on the public meeting that we had, it was brought up by a number of citizens that they would continue to like to get choice. So that was March 21st. So to me, over the weekend, it very clear to me, multiple haulers one day a week, and we limited to pick a number. We pick 3 is a good number. As a community member, to me, that gives me choice, and I'll let it go at that. So that's what this basically says. So this is merely a piece of, and then I'll tell you, the kicker to me was, I kept hearing about, from the get-go, instead of a bid, we could also quote write an ordinance. And I mentioned at 2:30 a.m. in the morning, and I want to see why, I got up one day and started looking. I said, do we have an ordinance? I was under the impression we didn't. We do. We have a 4-page ordinance on trash hauling that's existing. When I bounce it off people that I trust, Colleen, I know on this, and she said very simply, it's always easier to amend an ordinance than it is to write it in the first place. We got this ordinance in place. So I think it's 4 pages, Dan. But I just basically cut and pasted the pieces of that ordinance I thought that were relevant to this, to solid waste management intent and purpose, that part of the definitions, and then in red, that's my recommendation. Now I simply change, I was hoping to go July 1, fiscal year, July 1, but effective August 1st, residential solid waste services limited to 3 haulers. And initially, we will grandfather in the 4 current residential waste haulers that we have. Okay, so we're not cutting anybody off. We don't have to make any justification for why we cut down to 3 and cut out somebody. We're accepting the 4 we have. Because I think we know, from a practical standpoint, it's very likely that this is going to go down, they're going to go down to 2 anyway. We know that Waste Management purchased Advanced, so right now that's 4 going down to 3. We also know that TNR in the village has very little business in the village, and I would doubt very seriously long term if they're going to stick around. So that would get us down even to 2, which would be community and waste management. I think that's 2 real good ones. All right. So anyway, right now limited to 3. So we're going to grandfather into 4. And here's the thing, I want to put in the registration fee. I've checked around, and I'll tell you what, the haulers are not upset with. Just like the haulers agreed to Monday being okay, I can tell you that from my understanding, haulers are also okay with the registration fee at $250. Because I just look at church, it's my life. And I saw the amount of patchwork recently done on Church Street. Let them pay for some of that patchwork, that's all I'm saying. And nobody, trust me, Waste Management can spend what, how many billions to acquire Advance? $250 is not gonna throw them. If they counter and say, we don't want to pay for Advanced and for Waste Management, I say, that's fine, $250 for one of you is okay. All right, and after the first year, and that $250 would include, that's it, that's good. And after the first year, an annual permit fee of $125. So initially that $250 is all they got to pay. That includes their permit, whatever, for up to that first year. After that, they're going to get hit with $125. And I didn't hear anybody I talked to complain about that at all for $125. Just to let us know let them know we were interested. And then down at the bottom, that's the, you know, the day on Monday, I guess I could, because this fit with 5007, August 1st, residential collection take place on Mondays. And again, this is right out of the ordinance, solid waste collection, recyclables and yard waste. Hours of operation, 7 a.m. We don't want them on our streets before 7. It's interesting now because community is hitting Church Street on recyclables around 7:20 a.m. But it's still after 7 and 5 p.m. I think it's a decent time for them to stop. That's it. I don't see any problem with this. I think it's bing, bang, boom. It's easy. Now, down the road, I know, Tanya, we talked, you said, how, okay, so we're down to 2. We're down to waste management, and community. All right. We get 3 haulers that want to participate. What is our process to select them? I think very simply, we state on this also, we can add some things. What is our selection process? I think it's just like if I'm calling up somebody and I'm put on a queue waiting to talk to somebody. If somebody is interested, they can say they are interested. Boom, sorry, we're full right now, but you're first in the queue, okay? And assuming you meet standard regulations for hauling trash in the village, or in the state of Michigan, which I think they all have to do, you're next on the list. I have no problem with that. And then, well, what about company 2? Well, company 1 that's interested, they got in their thing that they were interested September 1st, and number 2, they got it in November. Fine, we're taking the one in September. What's our procedure? First in queue, as long as they meet, you know, standard operating procedures in Michigan. That's it. And I don't see where there's any legal challenge on that.
I definitely see concerns with.
Go ahead, I'm interested.
I mean, what if we use that same process in selecting a village manager? First candidate who puts in gets it? No, that's not the way we work. We put out a posting period, say, okay, if we're down to 2 and we have more than one interested, we can't just say, oh yeah, we just take the first one that applies. I think that would open us up to legal challenges, because we don't have a defined practice on how we make that selection or anything like that. I don't, personally, I don't see a need. I'm really uncomfortable with the limiting it to 3. If we have the existing 4, and you're saying it's expected to go down anyways, why do we need to have a limit in this ordinance? Because I see that's just opening up a potential liability that we don't really need to open ourselves up to. I mean, I don't understand.
Well, let me give you something, to me, my nightmare scenario. 6 companies, all of a sudden, they wanted to come into the village, all right? And then they all got 3 trucks. They got, you know, regular and recyclables and yard waste.
Yeah.
So we get an additional 18 trucks hitting our roads. That's my concern.
That's
And right now is a perfect time to cut it, is to limit it, because we're not gonna run into.
But I think,
problems.
as you said, the perfect solution for that is we contract with one hauler for the whole village. I see this as kind of like a temporary in-between step.
Do you
because-
remember at all, Larry, why we're not doing that?
Because we backed out of doing it. I think we should still move forward with doing that. I think
don't.
that, but I'm really disappointed that community chose to.
Not to participate.
Take the position they did, because my feeling is that, just like you, I would take into consideration the exact same things that they said. If they're using smaller trucks that are easier on the roads, if most of the communities are using them, it's less transition for them. I would definitely want to take those considerations into consideration when we did make a choice of a trash hauler, if we went down to 1. And I think that it would be very possible community could be the person that we would choose based on those topics right there that they raised.
Well, we already had the discussion, they cannot
But-
fill our needs. They would have to get new trucks, hire new people, and 60% of our community would like to have them, but they cannot fill the need, which leaves 40% of our community making the decision for 100%
I heard
if we go
different
to
than
one
that,
hauler.
Tanya. In
So-
my discussion with Brian said they could do it.
If they bid on it
Okay, they told me
and
they would have to
they
get
could
new
meet the
trucks
need,
and
then I would
employees.
take into consideration just.
Because I asked him, I said, if it came down to something, how much can you handle? He said, we handle your own time.
So,
When's
you know,
that?
See that?
I don't know, some time ago.
yeah.
Really?
But the other thing is, regarding the fee, $250 initial and $125 Is that consistent with what other communities are charging for trash hauling services?
I think it's probably low.
Well,
I don't have that.
Did you do any checking on surrounding communities in the area and find out what fees they do charge for that?
I checked around.
Okay, and, yeah, because I would have liked to have that.
And there was
for
nobody
references.
that I talked to that thought that was an insult to the trash hauler to pay to.
No, but I mean, I would have liked to have the actual,
Like what does
Results-
everybody
Results
pay?
in my survey?
the backing information, you know, saying, hey, this community's charging this, that community's charging that. You know, instead of just saying, yeah, I talked to people, if you talk to people and they tell you something, technically in a court of law, they would call it hearsay, it wouldn't admit it. We can't make decisions based upon opinions that are second.
Here's my answer on that,
So,
Mark.
I mean-
It's about materiality, and it's a peanut. It's not a big deal.
I agree, but I
So
mean,
it's not worth taking up
if
our
we're gonna
time.
be writing an amount on an ordinance, I would like to see some basis in some kind of facts or some kind of actual comparison. Is it comparable to other communities? So that we have some, hey, this is why we picked this number.
What if other communities were charging like 2,500, then you'd say, boy, are we suckers, we should be charging 2,500.
If communities are charging 2,500, we're charging nothing, I'd say 250 is very reasonable, I have no
I think it's
problem.
reasonable anyway.
I would
Yeah.
say 250 is light,
Yeah.
if other people are charging
But I mean,
2,500.
if we go to charge 250 and I survey Southeast Michigan, we found out there's only one other community that's charging any fees, then I'd say question, why are we charging fees?
Well,
So I just wanna get some basis for comparison to understand, you know, where this would fit in relation to other communities comparable to us, that's all. You know, I like to make,
Because it's not that material to me, if council decides that that's a contentious point, I have no opposition to saying.
I'm in favor of having a fee, I just wanna have a fee that we can justify based upon some comparison, some numbers that we can look at and say, this is why we have this fee, that's all.
Pat, are they paying, is anybody paying the fee right now?
No.
Not in our community.
That's what I was going to ask, what does the permit pay for? Like when you get a building permit, you pay for an inspection. What does this permit pay for?
It's
We
just
don't
an-
inspect.
It's just an annual permit.
Road
But what are
maintenance,
they
road-
getting
road
for it?
maintenance.
It's an annual permit just to say we're touching base with them, which right now, we don't touch base with any of them.
So who's
So
going to do
once
that?
a year,
We're going to do that once a year?
yeah, just send them a letter and say you owe us $125, and we'd like to get it sometime in July.
Well, like food trucks and all that, they pay
Yeah.
they pay something.
They
to
pay
come
for
in.
the lot to come
Install
in.
them.
We don't charge Hamiltons, we don't charge the school buses, we don't charge anybody who uses our
They don't
streets.
Charge the fire department, come and make sure that they're.
Yeah, we
Well, they're
don't
just-
charge them. No,
Okay,
he
but-
does that, that's part of the village. He's coming for the event and doing it, you know. But that's what I mean,
Well, that's-
what are they
when you-
getting for their permit?
They
And why
have-
are they the only ones paying a permit? Nobody else on our roads are.
Well, I'm not really basing, I'm saying we can use that money to help with the roads, it's a peanut. But the fact of the matter is, it's merely, they're paying the fee to provide the service, that's all.
So just to
But nobody else
register to
does.
provide service in our community. So if we say, hey, here's a trash hauler and they didn't pay their permit, then we could go after them.
Yes. I mean, if somebody's gonna kick for $125, yeah, we'll go after them.
Well, Liz, we're all going to have, Liz is going to have some sort of value
And remember,
entering and.
it's not like we're sending out 30 of these and trying to
Yeah.
follow them, we're sending out 3.
Yeah, and, you know, like I said, I have no problem with charging a permit fee, but I just would like to know the basis in terms of what other communities are doing, so we have some comparison to see if what we're doing is in alignment with.
Well, you realize at this point in time, we're different than the vast majority of communities around the state,
Well,
because they have one hauler.
Actually, this is just a registration fee, it's not a permit, so
Yeah.
it's just,
As a registration fee, I'm okay to say, okay, if you want to do, if you want to do business in our town, then you got to pay a registration fee, so we know who you are.
Exactly.
But it
That's-
says
that's-
an annual permit fee.
Yeah, just.
So
you're
once
gonna
they
get an
registered
annual-
one
You're gonna get an
time,
annual
You're
permit.
charging them every year.
Yeah,
We don't
that's fine.
charge for anything else multiple
There you
times, or
go.
anybody else.
This might be something we might want to consider.
So
But
instead
you tell me
of,
current
instead of
businesses pay,
a
business
registration,
tax
it would
to
be
their
it
zone.
would be a permit, it wouldn't be, not a permit, but a renewal fee then.
But they pay their
You can turn it
taxes for
that
their
way,
business
that's fine.
already.
Yeah, put a
Yeah, I
renewal.
mean, it
yeah.
could be a
Larry?
registration.
I mean, just for
Larry?
talking on-
Yeah, renewal fee is fine, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm open to that.
All right, so I guess, can we look at the, on the bottom, the red, the all residential solid waste collection? Are there any questions or comments on that section? Let's take them each separately. because it'll kind of be addressed separately. I can tell you, this is Pat's wording.
Yeah.
When Bill, it's just slightly different. When Bill asked Mr. Gildner to review the addition of this, just so you know, it's very slight. With the exception of, instead of, I'm sorry, where it says effective August 1st, with the exception of commercial dumpsters, solid waste pickup is only allowed on Mondays between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. When Monday is a federal holiday, the pickup day will be Tuesday. So when we come up with an ordinance, we run it through the lawyer, the attorney. The attorney has approved this wording, not this. We can change it and tweak it. It is just slightly different. I'm just letting you know. He did say that that is acceptable and comfortable to add to our current ordinance.
Did you get that from the attorney, Pat? Just
No.
now?
No, yes, you and I talked about it Sunday night. And I
Right,
read
I'm
it.
saying Tanya, yeah,
Yeah.
that's Tanya and I talked with Tanya.
So he said that makes good sense, but the trash haulers is a totally different discussion.
As far as the number.
Now, it is possible to draft an ordinance to limit the number of trash haulers to 2. It will not be an easy task. You must
Now, remember again,
identify,
that's 3 though.
you must identify criteria used to winnow the list of prospective down. The easiest approach is to require all pickup to occur on one day. That way garbage won't be seen on multiple days, and leave it at that. If you choose to do a permit and the number of haulers, et cetera, that is a separate ordinance, and that must be done in the ordinance process, which is to draft, go in front of the attorney, bring it back in front of people twice, have it approved.
I disagree with her.
That is the law. We have to do ordinances correctly. We have no choice.
So you're saying on
But
this,
the
on
bottom
amendment-
part-
First reading and a second reading.
The bottom part can be added to the current, as it follows the same exact of the obligations relating. So that can stay there if you don't have a problem with the wording, or we can give him the wording one more time and use your wording, it's up to you. It doesn't matter. It's
mean, what-
just a little different. You added solid or recycling and things like that. But we'll just run it through before we approve, so we could say with the approval of. But that's the only thing that we can approve. If you would like to create an ordinance with the other, then you could do that process.
Now, help me again clarify, so right now, a separate, we need 2 ordinances?
If you are going to do, yes, the limiting the number of haulers and the permit fees
I
is
disagree.
not fall in our current ordinance. It does not meet that ordinances.
I don't know why, well, that's fine, but I don't.
Legally, it does not, so we cannot do that. What we can do is
So we're
add,
amending an ordinance to limit it to 3, and you're telling me we
we
can't do that
cannot,
under
that's a
that.
separate ordinance.
I'd like to get a second opinion.
Well,
I think the
we're
attorney's wrong.
paying our attorney to
You have to look at
clarify
this.
legal decisions.
I'm not pleased with it.
You are welcome to get a second
Now, let me tell you
opinion. The
something,
other thing-
let me tell you something, if we had a village manager in here, say that village manager should have some kind of legal background, I think we could resolve that a lot
Well,
easier.
Bill was already addressing this and said that he's very concerned about that because you will have a legal
Well,
issue.
in all-
He had that issue when he was in Lapeer and
That's
he wasn't
fine.
comfortable with it either.
I know,
So
and
the
I'm-
2 people that know what they're doing told us they're not comfortable.
Well, I'll tell you
We
what
need
Bill
to
did
consider
know,
those.
Bill did not know that we had an ordinance out there. He never told me we had an ordinance, so he did not know
This
that
has
much.
to be created as a separate ordinance and that was you and Bill's discussion. It was not
Well, I'm
attached
just
to
telling you, my
it.
discussion with Bill, no time did he bring up, he already had an existing ordinance in place.
But we don't have an ordinance that
do. We
addresses
We have
this.
a solid waste management
It's totally
ordinance,
different.
But we don't have an ordinance that specifically addresses number and criteria for selecting trash haulers. That's the
Totally.
part.
I think you're overcomplicating it, I think the attorney's
1995.
looking for more money.
So I guess the first thing is, like I said, can we address, do you mind the wording or would you like to change the wording on the bottom section to specifically be what you have in red?
I'll go to what the council says.
Or do you mind, well,
It would have been
Don't
great
you
if
wanna
could
make a
have seen it ahead of
recommendation?
time, so you could have pondered it.
Well, let's ponder it and bring it up at the next meeting then, I'm okay with that. I was
Because
willing,
then
I
if
was,
you do it today,
I
because then
was
we can
willing
do-
to drop it entirely, Connie,
Because then
but
it could
I
be
thought-
first
I
reading
just
scheduled
assumed
for
it'd
the
be-
next meeting.
you
Yeah, so
don't need
think
to
about
amend
it.
the ordinance, you don't have to.
So-
If to create the new one,
That's
we
what he
would
was
have to.
saying, he wants to amend it.
It also may give you time just to call a couple of
I will, I'll
communities
do that.
for the,
Okay, and I will certainly investigate the best of my ability why we need a second ordinance. To me, this ordinance falls under trash hauling.
Well,
I'm
there's
sure.
multiple, these are multiple
Do you,
ordinances
Dan,
here
do
for
you see
trash
where we need a
contracts.
separate, hey, I'll,
Well,
you
when
know,
they say
I know you
separate
and Colleen are
ordinance,
very good at this.
It'll fall under the trash hauling ordinance, but there might be a separate.
We would have to
It
add.
could be like
Number under that.
Oh, all right, so you're not talking about a whole new ordinance, you're
No.
talking about a
It's
a
subsection.
section.
50.1.
Which is a separate, I mean,
Oh, I'm
it's a
okay
separate
with
ordinance.
that, okay, I thought we were gonna write a whole new ordinance,
Oh,
I'm thinking,
no.
based on what I'm hearing, I don't wanna
No.
do that, okay, so just another section, okay.
I think
All right,
Liz
hold on,
had-
let's
Go ahead, Mel,
Just whatever you decide to do.
let you know,
Well, from an office staff perspective, I think August 1st
it's
is.
premature,
Yeah, well,
how about September 1st?
that would be much
That would be
better.
the
'cause
last quarter.
You've got to notify people, we've got to create your registration form, just,
Yes,
and we're already halfway through July. so.
September. September one is good.
So if
I
we
agree with
happen
Liz
to
on
make
that.
the decision at the July meeting, it could be for the September 1st date.
Yeah, no,
Correct, that gives,
So can I go back to asking you, are you prepared or interested to put forth the bottom half at this point, or would you like to reserve that to research the top half of the haulers and do that separately or together?
I'll simply state if it's merely putting in another number on this thing, I'm okay with that.
That's a whole separate ordinance.
well,
Well,
It
that's what
has
I'm
to be
asking,
its
so
own
is it a whole separate ordinance?
Yes,
If we
it
put
has
in
to
a
go to
50
two public readings, it has to go in first, come back to us, we approve it.
It's
Two
not-
times it has to be read in front of the public.
so
At a
let me throw a thought out.
Go ahead, Larry.
If I understand what I'm hearing correctly, the bottom piece, which we could use the wording from the council, that he said that would be more
No,
appropriate.
bills he approved, this would simply go in front of the lawyer to say, yes, I'm comfortable
Now
with
you-
it. That
Now
would be
you
it.
realize on
So-
this too, Tanya and Larry, again, this is, the actual ordinance goes on like for 4 pages. So I merely took the subsections out of the existing ordinance.
Yes, but I'm
that I
just-
thought
I'm
was
just-
most applicable to these changes.
Let me just
Go ahead.
finish what I was trying to state
Go
though,
ahead.
is that if we add this condition into an existing section, then we do not have to go through the whole ordinance process?
The bottom does not.
So
It
we
is
could-
part of
we
an
could-
existing.
Move forward with setting the same day for the trash hauling now, and then do more research into the other piece and bring that up down the road. I think that might be the best way to move forward, so we at least start getting on the same day for the trash hauling, and then we can address, are we gonna limit, or how we wanna address that other one.
Liz,
We have more time to
I'm seeing
research that.
2020 effective date at this point.
Well, if we add this one right here, we can make that effective
Okay.
date
September 1st.
September 1st. Because
can
this
do it
one
on
we can do quick, according
No,
to
no, no, I
Tanya's
just,
saying.
I
No,
just mean.
it's not
the
fair
lawyers.
to haulers, nor, the haulers need time to rearrange their schedules.
No,
and
no, no,
notify other
we're
customers.
agreed on September, I have no problem with that. I think Liz's point is well taken, you know.
But are we prepared to do that? Are we ready to do the bottom section? That's what I
The
can't.
bottom section right
The
here.
only thing I might
That says what,
change-
the Mondays? Is that the
The
bottom
all
section?
residential solid waste collection, yes.
On
Yeah.
Mondays.
Now, do you want it the way that it has already been stated and suggested by you and Bill, or would you like to change it to your red wording?
I'll accept either one.
Okay,
If
well,
you're saying, because you're saying it's minute, it's basically the same.
well, it doesn't
If the
say
attorney likes the other one.
recyclables
or-
and yard waste, it says solid waste pickup.
Alright.
It doesn't specify, would we like those added in, or is that all of your waste? They pick up everything when they come.
It doesn't say anything about commercial dumpster pickup.
Yeah, and that one excludes.
There is no
Well, this-
commercial dumpster on either one. It says with
This
the
is
exceptions of
residential
commercial
only.
dumpster.
Oh, yeah, residential only
Right.
is what we're looking at.
The only thing I
Are you
might
saying on that we want to
suggest,
be more explicit?
No,
Well-
yours says all residential, his says with the exception of commercial, it's the same thing, different wording,
Yeah,
same
I'm
thing.
saying explicitly residential.
And
If you
that's
wanna
what
say
that says.
residential
It's the same
only,
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
the only thing I might suggest is I noticed the section above, everything on there is shall this, shall that, shall the other. Maybe we should replace will with shall, because I'm sure that there's some kind of legalese reason why they're using shall in this all there. So maybe just use all residential solid waste collection shall take place on Mondays.
I'm okay with
So I go back to my original question, would we like to use what has already been approved, or would we like to create one? That's our
Please
two
reread
options at
what's
this
already been
point.
approved.
it. Yeah, what's
That
good
would,
for
a copy of that would have been great, so we could see it, so we could dissect it out.
Yeah.
So on
And
the
the
very
bottom line
bottom
is,
of,
we'll
I see that part.
We'll finish this at the regular meeting. We agree? We're not gonna decide this tonight.
We
It's
could
already
decide
done. We
this
can
tonight if we want.
decide it
You
tonight.
think we can make it?
Because I'm tired of moving at snail's
One
pace, let's get
sentence.
things going.
Okay, so let's.
Tanya, read it the way you would like to read it.
All right, pass the original.
Mhm.
With the exception of commercial dumpsters,
Mhm.
solid waste pickup is only allowed on Mondays
Mhm.
between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. When Monday is a federal holiday, the pickup day will be Tuesday. Is there anything missing?
Wait, 7
That is
a.m. and
needed.
what p.m.?
7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Because here he has 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
I
And the
asked-
original that Bill and Pat talked about was, at this point, 7 a.m. 7. We can change that as long as it goes through him, which, you know,
Well,
shouldn't
can
be
we
hard.
change it to 5?
No,
If we want to, but, I mean,
no.
what is it the difference?
Why would it have to go through him again?
Because he has to approve don't read any ordinance thing before we approve it. That's a legal
You just
thing.
said that he just did that.
7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If it changes, we run it through him real quick
A
and then
time,
it's
which,
approved.
a time? I can't see him charge it, having the attorney
Yeah, they could-
review a time.
Well, if we look at how we do ordinances and we can go through that is to go through our attorney and then go through 2 readings.
But we've already went through the attorney and we're just changing.
He approved
from
this
7
only.
From 7 to 5 versus 7 to 7.
Okay.
I,
Besides that, is there anything else on here?
to charge, that's just a waste.
Well, actually, we could actually keep it 7 to 7.
Is there any?
Yeah, I'm okay.
They're probably, most of them are probably done by then
Yeah,
anyway.
they want to get home.
Yeah,
They
they
wanna
It's like
get
to
done.
take it to the attorney for a time.
Well, if it's a
for
really
2 hours.
But
whole
by
day?
allowing it 7, you could, don't assume that they're gonna have it done before 5.
No, I
was
will-
thinking
don't use every time they can
inclement
get.
weather. I was thinking like inclement weather, winter.
Exactly.
No,
Cold
I was
days.
thinking about that one statement where, the one thing that includes that this does not is, except when it's a public holiday, and I think that
Which we
is
talked about at the
important
meeting.
to allow
Right.
for that.
To state that when Monday is a
know.
federal holiday, the pickup day will be Tuesday.
And
I
that
know
could be
we
one
asked.
reason why they might need a little longer on a day, because if it's after a holiday, they might have catch up to do and might be later or something, I could see that.
So is there any concerns with that? You want me to read it one more time or no? You want it or no?
Well, I'm assuming you'll give me a copy
I
of that.
sure will.
Thank you.
But do you want it?
I'm okay with
Really
the
will.
originally approved word.
Okay, so that will be added to the bottom of 50.07, the obligations as read, and then the effective September 1st it'll go in that area on the bottom, right? So would we like a motion for that?
Well, I would make a motion, Tanya,
All right.
that the,
The addition
can I say the revisions that you've read are?
The addition?
You can say
The
it's
attorney
read.
approved.
As
language.
read by Tanya is acceptable,
Or I can give it to you.
acceptable to me.
You want it?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let
it
Pat
should be
read it.
read.
Read it?
The complete-
Read it?
Yeah, so that,
On the very
otherwise,
bottom, it's underlined.
Okay. All right. So basically, this is what, part B that I'm reading here?
With the exception of?
Oh, yeah, with the exception of commercial dumpsters, solid waste pickup is only allowed on Mondays between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. And when Monday, period, when Monday is a federal holiday, the pickup day will be Tuesday, period. Got this? And that's the
So,
motion. that
We have a motion on the table by Pat George.
Should we accept it as read?
Well, what,
Floor? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
the motion should also, or I'm going to include on the motion to amend the solid waste ordinance
Yes.
50.07.
That's
To
fine.
include, okay?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
50.07.
Does your motion
Thank
need
you,
an
Liz.
effective date for that?
No, it'll be at the very end, the ordinance and it always goes at the end of the ordinance.
So will that be
It'll
E?
say amended on in
Will
the
that be
date.
E
Okay.
under that?
E.
We have A, B, C, D, you have, so that would be E under 50.07?
That, I don't, I saw it, it's not.
the
Oh,
attorney didn't word it that way, and he reviewed
Yeah.
it, so I would say it's just a paragraph.
I'd
Otherwise,
like,
we paid him and he didn't add it to that.
you know what, though,
That
I
would be
do.
nice.
Bill
I
is
do
the
like
one
it.
who sent it to him, he approved what Bill sent. This is what was suggested from Pat and Bill.
Yeah, but it
and he
sounds like
approved
that
what they
would be a
wrote.
section.
The
It
lawyer
is an
did
E.
not write it.
It's an E though, Tanya. I'm okay, yeah, it should be an E. Yeah.
Looks like that should be.
Yeah. So this, all we're saying here, Tanya, is this, see that they go up to D, this would now become E on that, that's all.
Okay.
And then the date will
red is-
follow.
Yes.
Be added to section
50.
50.5.
50.07?
what they discussed, the attorney and Bill, was amending section 50.5 to read for hours of collection.
Oh, added into hours of collection?
So
Yes.
it made it its own paragraph.
Yeah,
conti-
that's already in,
It's its
hours
own
of
sentence at the
collection
end.
is in subsection 50.05,
Okay.
and so that would be added
Okay,
to
so.
that section, it would be 50.
What was the hours
So
already
it's
in there?
before before application.
7 a.m.
The hours that are already in there just
That's what's in
says,
there now?
Hours to be collected, it doesn't
7
define them.
a.m.
That's the way
Oh,
we're
it
reading
didn't
it.
define the
That's what's in
hours.
the red.
So do we need to amend our ordinance to?
You just adding the two
amend our
sentences to the
amend our
current.
motion, I mean.
Right.
Okay,
Well, yes,
To
it needs to
identify
be
the correct
included, to
section.
amend, yes.
yeah.
and that's,
I'm sorry. I
again,
thought you
that's
meant the-
50.05.
50.05.
Getting.
I need to
Yep.
amend the motion
You're
because. we-
adding that.
Pat does,
because
yes.
So it's not, because it doesn't already exist.
We are amending that section to include, is how my motion reads.
Okay.
That's fine.
And then I will do the rest of it verbatim,
Okay.
okay?
So do you mind reading it too? So you ready to or no?
I am.
Okay.
Okay.
Just to double check, before we get a second, we wanna make sure we're.
Okay, so the motion, we already had a second. The motion was to amend solid waste ordinance 50.5 to include, with the exception of commercial dumpsters, solid waste pickup is only allowed on Mondays between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. When Monday is a federal holiday, the pickup day will be Tuesday.
Great, thank you. So we have a motion on the table by Councilman George, supported by Councilman Butsu. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And
6-0.
then the topic of registration fees will come up in our next meeting, is that what I heard? Once you figure out what other communities are charging?
Okay.
Is that what I heard?
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's fine.
So it'll be on our next agenda.
Okay. Yes.
for-
Nothing. I don't know, I'm thinking out loud without, sorry about that. I'm looking at you
Yeah,
thinking.
That should be the only change then, shouldn't it?
For this,
Yeah.
yeah. But like I said, the other one, it will have to be, it's more than just what the fees are. It is justifying who you're deciding and when. It is a big can of worms.
And I really think.
So we
that
have to
would-
draw something up
But-
and then submit it to have it tweaked.
But I'll
and
say
looked at.
on that time, if you read 50.07, obligations relating to solid waste collection, I don't wanna read it all. But I mean, this is already out there. So when someone says, I wanna do business, we give them the 4 pages and say, are you in compliance with this? Right, so we're really spelling it out on the existing ordinance. You know, again, look at authorized, a facility authorized to operate pursuant to Act 641 for disposal, pay all disposal fees, be all solid waste, is, carried in a closed truck. I mean, these are what we're
State
saying.
laws, right.
So I want somebody coming by with a pickup truck that they threw a cover over it and say, here's my dump truck, we said, that's fine.
They have to follow the state
Yeah,
laws.
solid
Correct.
waste hauler complies with all applicable federal, state, county laws, statutes. That's pretty specific there. So if we get somebody in violation of that, then we can tell them, I'm sorry, solid waste hauler should not knowingly collect, deliver hazardous waste. I think in here in the 4 pages, we give it to prospective haulers, you gotta meet this. Simple as that. You sign it that you have. If we find out you're not in compliance on any of those points, we can state that we have grounds to tell you bye-bye, right? Isn't that what we're really saying? I don't think, that's why I said I don't have to do anything. I think this ordinance is very explicit in what they're quoting as far as applicable laws, and you, prospective hauler, you sign this and say you're in compliance. If they sign it, Larry, and they're in compliance, and we got vendor A and vendor B out there, hauler A and hauler B, and hauler A was in the queue first, and they sign it, they read it. We do a little bit of due diligence to see if we think they are. That's fine, I would think they get it, you know. And why? I guess because they were first to get their bid in. That's all.
Well,
That's-
And as long as they're in
Limiting-
compliance with this 4-page document, you don't think that holds?
It's not the way it works legally. Because the person who comes in second would say, I was not given a chance, and why are they first, and to what merit have they earned that? We have to have some type of scoring system or whatever. You have to meet those requirements in order to do it. If you have two people coming for an open spot,
Well, Tanya,
they
what
have
if you-
every right
What if
to
you got a village
prove their
manager
business.
applying for the position and said, I'm sorry, I didn't meet the deadline because I wasn't privy to where you advertised it at, so I'm.
If we give them a
So
deadline.
I'm suing you because I'm the most capable candidate, you never interviewed me. But the way you advertised was not proper. It was not all-inclusive. You excluded me because of the way you did it. Liz only posted it on 12 places, instead of
Minus the
18 or
13.
whatever.
So if we advertise and have a cutoff date and you have 4 people apply, then you have to decide between the 4. That's what we're saying. Same thing.
That's
You
fine.
have to open it up and allow people to give a deadline, and then how do you factor who gets it? We have to have the same exact things they follow. There has to be no bias. It has to be open. We have to be.
For me, we had a council trustee recommend one hauler, you put it out for a bid. You say it's a 5-year contract, you're gonna service the village of Ortonville, you're gonna do it in compliance of state regulations and state laws, you're gonna pick up on Mondays only, you're gonna do, and you just and you wanna know what? We sit back and wait for their bid, and their bid's gonna be price per pickup. You're gonna pick up normal garbage, you're gonna pick up recycled plastic, and you're gonna pick up yard waste. Those are the 3 things you're bidding on. Give us a quote. Let council decide, once those numbers come in, that's the easiest way and legal way to make a decision.
But the community said they don't want one hauler, so that's not the
We
discussion.
don't have to select one hauler from those bids, we can select 2 bids, we can select 3. But you bring them in, you say, okay, here's
Okay.
supplier A, B, and C, here's the top 3.
And your current ones have to do that as well.
You don't have to pick the lowest bidder.
Absolutely.
Right.
No, I'm
You
with you,
don't
but
have
we
to
have
pick.
to have some sort of factor in creating this. We
It's
can't
just like soliciting for a new president. You put out a letter, request for quote, you send them to X amount of haulers that you want them to quote, and you wait for their feedback, but you have to be defined as to what you're asking them to quote on. And it's an easy decision from there.
Well, I still would like to
That's a good start.
reconsider the option of down the road considering just contracting with one trash hauler.
Yeah, I think we might
And
find,
reach out to the one, like I said, I would be more than happy to take in consideration the aspects that community brought up in their letter to their residents, because I think that those are important considerations we should think about before making a decision. Is how is it going to impact the community?
I agree. I think community would have been right in the thick of things.
Well, it may come to that too. I mean, they've gotten a lot of business since this all go around, so.
Well, they
couple of
can't take
years.
any more customers, they're full,
Is that what you-
I heard he said he
beyond
can.
full.
Will you let me check on that?
Go ahead,
All right,
yeah,
well,
they capped
I'll
it
give Brian a
when,
call.
Yeah.
when the other one
Maybe you can bring
left,
some of that
they
information.
could not
back.
even take in their
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
If you can find out information related to that too, at that aspect too, for the next council
I
meeting
think-
for review, that'd be good.
Yeah, I think what I heard was they weren't taking it at this moment because the other company went out
Flooded.
and
Mhm.
they had to take up what they could.
Right.
But that doesn't say next year, or the following year, they can accept more business from us too.
Yeah.
It's not a.
Tanya, that's,
Everything.
yeah, depending on when you talk to Brian, because I know odd jobs really.
Within like, yeah, it's about 3
Odd
weeks.
jobs went belly up in Oxford and et cetera, yeah, it created a big hole. And I know
Put
the
a strain
community,
on a lot
I know
of
the
trash
community
companies.
picked up a lot of the Oxford business, you know. So,
All right.
okay,
So we're requesting at the next meeting to continue with the
what I can get.
number of haulers and the registration fee. The registration fee was
You
not,
just a straw vote here with, does the council, I don't have any problem with removing that, if it seems just to be obnoxious, if.
Removing what?
Oh, the registration fees.
I don't think that's not
Oh,
bad.
the registration fee was not addressed with
I think it's good business.
the lawyer.
All right, so
Yeah,
we're,
I'm fine with the
Vote on
registration fee.
the motion.
I just
No,
think
we
we should
voted
do
6-0,
something.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Motion
But I
carried.
mean-
Miss that?
Yeah, I did say 6-0, motion carried. Everybody voted.
I think I heard.
Yeah.
motion
yeah,
carried.
it was just, I think we went.
I
we
also,
didn't-
but you know, I was
we-
busy
Do you want us
typing
to
it.
do it again?
We didn't do an individual vote.
We
just
did all
an
at the
aye
same
and
time.
aye. We did a
I
group
can't
vote.
Oh,
do
it's
it
just
at
a
once,
voice vote.
All in
clearly.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Okay.
Clearly, I
It's
can't.
on
do two
record.
things at once.
Yes, you can.
All right, so we will continue to carry that over. I can tell you, we did not request anything with limiting haulers, yes, no registration fee with the attorney at all. That hasn't even gone past him, that wasn't the request the first time through. So if you would like that, then that needs to be done. If not, then
Again,
it'll
I
be
think
done
it's-
when you draw
I think it's
numbers.
America, we can do whatever we want.
Well, I'm asking
I'm
you.
serious.
It's your
I don't-
ordinance you're
we
working
don't
on.
need- We don't need permission to charge somebody a peanut fee, where we need an attorney to tell us yes. or
Well,
no.
it will have to go through him once the ordinance has been drafted, so you can
I would
either
be
ask
costing
before
that
or
attorney
after.
about materiality, you know.
Well, we can get our attorney's fees out of it at least, right?
There we go. All right.
For, I guess, the 30 minutes, maybe.
We'll figure it
half hour.
Anything else on the residential trash hauling? Final recommendations?
To the business and cut short and not talk to you about weather.
Anything? All right. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Mark Robinson.
I make a motion for adjourn?
Support.
Motion to adjourn by Councilman Hayden, supported by Councilman, what was that, Butsu at 8:20.
Okay.
I would
Thank
just,
you very much.
I would just like to know.